32 doctors at Hualien Tzu Chi Medical Center dedicate themselves to fighting the COVID pandemic. The COVID pandemic has led many to the internet as a convenient and safer option to in-person shopping. I'm Sean Scanlon. This is DaAi Headlines. Let's get started. Next, we meet doctors from Hualien Tzu Chi Medical Center who are taking care of those COVID patients. The two are both certified Tzu Chi commissioners. To better care for COVID patients, they cut their hair short to lessen the time needed to remove protective clothing. Take a look.
For ease in entering the dedicated wards of COVID, Dr. Wu Yaru has cut off her long hair.
Actually, each day at our workday, we will conduct a full body cleaning, including washing our hair. So I thought if I maintained a short hairstyle, then no matter if it's in taking care of a patient or removing the protective wear, it will be safer and easier.
Also working in the dedicated wards for COVID, Wang Yongxuan has kept the master's reminder close to her.
The stethoscope has remained on my leg and shoulders. In the beginning, I chose this brand because it was lightweight and won't bear down on my leg and shoulder area. However, with these 4 words engraved on it, I feel the greater responsibility of it.
When entering the dedicated wards, these doctors are taking care of each precious life with such detailed care, as they remember their initial aspiration and life's mission of becoming a doctor.
Since Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital has been dedicated to the battle against COVID, the intensive care unit has been racing against time every day. Impermanence has become a matter facing medical personnel every day, as the staff's greatest hope is to discharge healthy patients every day. This is the dressing room of the protective clothing. As soon as I put it on, I start to sweat. Come out every day at noon. Wow, when I take it off, I'm all sweaty. I feel scared. I fear the patient will die or the patient cannot be saved. The fear is that I can't save people from death. I was really helpless for the first 2 or 3 days, and I was also sad. I've always tried to treat him, who took care of his mother and was infected. The family felt that he was very filial and asked us to save him.
Situation 还好吗？ 100。雅致照相。哇，过瘾！有救了，有救了！太好了，太好了！有救了，有救了！他这个抽完痰他就火了。316苏医说要插管。
When the pandemic first came, I felt that it was not very good, and I felt that it was coming aggressively. At that time, we have opened 2 dedicated wards already and still kept opening. Then I already have a thought in my heart that was we couldn't escape it. None of the thoracists could hide from it. As I am a thoracic surgeon, I have to be at the forefront. When I first became a thoracic surgeon, I already knew that I will always be at front line when the pandemic comes.
他要做复健的啦，全身都太无力了。他比较好吗？没有比较有。他自己觉得有慢慢好，但是好慢。我等一下会扶他坐起来，拍一段影片给复健科医生看。看复健科医生帮他设计什么样的复健动作，叫他练习。好。所以还是有设计嘛，对。手那个闷滑滑呢，棉花糖人。哦，有力，好，手举高，手举高。没办法。
I think this pandemic, in addition to comparing our medical treatment capacity, in the principle, it also compares the patient's resistance and immunity. When the patient's lungs recover, we need to increase the patient's resistance so that the patient can take over his body. Once the patient's own immunity takes over his body, he can do anything for us. So for muscle weakness, we need to rely on manpower and physical methods to help the patients do rehabilitation.
它配合度很好，对。
其实因为平常我很在运动，可是今天这种状况，让我就觉得我怀疑，
很无力。
所有的力量都不见。
不会啦，大哥，慢慢的越来越有力啦，好不好？
努力一下。
不会啊，你的力气是我们拔管患者中最好的，加油！而且你进步最快。
The patients also wanted to live well, but he said, I just don't have the strength, but he is willing to move. So we still have to find a way to bring them some concepts of the rehabilitation. In other words, not only do I want patients to survive, I want them to live as before.
Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital performed the first caesarean section for a COVID-confirmed woman. Ms. Chen continued to receive treatment after giving birth and was finally discharged. Because of the premature delivery, the baby must be taken care of in the pediatric intensive care unit. After a month, was finally able to go home. Take a look.
Going out with both hands full of stuff, Ms. Chen and her husband went directly from Yilan to Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital early in the morning. They couldn't wait to meet their daughter.
It's about getting together finally. We have been expecting this day for a long time.
The baby, with rosy cheeks, is lying peacefully in her mother's arms. The couple looked forward to this moment for a month.
After giving birth, I learned of my daughter's condition through video or else through phone calls. So actually, I only met her in person after a month.
这个是小乔的毕业证书。
On behalf of the medical team, the superintendent sent out blessings to the baby. The nurses also made a growth diary which contains Chow's tiny footprints at birth and a video recording her daily changes so that her parents would not miss any of her precious moments.
Chow grew up in a loving environment and must become a happy baby in the future.
I am really grateful for the medical team for taking good care of my wife and my child when I was not here.
The little baby was born prematurely, with only more than 1.5 kilograms at birth. Now she has already gained 1 kilogram after a month and is confirmed COVID negative.
When she was 22 days old, she wore a positive pressure respirator to help breathing. After being discharged, she doesn't need the respirator anymore. Her condition is stable now.
Recalling the past, Ms. Chen thought it was like a dream. She contracted COVID at her 32nd week of pregnancy and was once critically ill. Yet she endured everything for the baby.
I later learned that at that time, I didn't have a chance of giving birth naturally because my blood oxygen concentration was too low. I also needed to receive medical treatment.
At first, she was actually not willing to receive intubation and cesarean section so soon. In the whole process, we have seen a brave mother enduring everything.
好，谢谢。
To sincerely thank the medical team for keeping the mother and baby girl safe, the couple made donation to the hospital, hoping to help pregnant women and children with the same situation. Now their daughter can be discharged from the hospital in good health, and the family of three is finally reunited.
We are going home.
I want to tell Chow that it is our greatest happiness that she can grow up happily.
Last year, the COVID pandemic raged around the world, and many people were worried about the risk of infection, leading to a sharp decline in many stores. The e-commerce industry has bucked the trend, and people's consumption has changed. Taiwan's two leading e-commerce companies, PC Home and Momo, both hit a new high. as online shopping platforms hope to benefit from this wave of zero-contact business.
Hi, how may I help you?
Miss Lee is an office worker and works for 9 hours a day. When she gets off work and arrives home, she changes her role and continues to work.
It's okay, I'm coming.
Picking up toys on the floor and doing housework, Miss Lee is fully occupied with family and work. She doesn't even have time to go out shopping.
It seems that most of my purchases are done online. For example, when I have time at noon or during break or having dinner at home. To many mothers, the moment of placing the order is very soothing.
As a mother, she likes to shop online also because of this concern.
It's relatively difficult to control children. They like to touch or don't want to wear masks, so we try not to go into the department stores.
This is the real picture of most families. The lifestyle and the impact of the pandemic have made online shopping popular amongst the public. Statistics show that Taiwan's two leading e-commerce companies, Momo reached 67.2 billion in turnover last year, while PC Home was 43.9 billion, both hitting historical highs. With the outbreak of the stay-at-home economy, online shopping platforms have made unique ways to attract businesses.
I will buy tissue paper and diapers directly through this platform.
If consumers want to buy anything, just go to the designated website directly. The key of the highly adherence of the consumers lies in the platform's unique cashback mechanism.
Anything you buy allows you to get a designated amount of cash back. You don't have to calculate it by yourself, but learn it directly from the website. As long as it accumulates to a certain amount, we will transfer it directly to your account for you to get it out.
I've already received 48,000 NT dollars in cash.
Being able to earn 2 to 33% of cashback in each purchase attracts consumers to place orders. Even during the pandemic, sales went up drastically.
Our income has increased by about 20 to 30%. The food really sells well, and also tissue paper. Sometimes when there are promotions or discounts, the website will get clogged up.
Cool Shopping， 我们是最酷的 MIT 百货，耶！
The live broadcaster is introducing the products in front of the camera. For online shopping, it's more dynamic to show the products by live broadcast than by pictures only.
你看这个茶包释放的，你们看这叶子已经展开成这样。
There is also a message board for the live broadcaster to interact with the audience in real time, answering the audience queries, which leads to successful orders.
After typing +1 on the message board, the products will be automatically shown on the screen. Then just input the credit card details to place the order. This can shorten the time for placing orders. As soon as it allows these audiences to place orders successfully, the sales volume is getting bigger and bigger.
Seizing zero-contact business chances, physical sellers, which are greatly affected by the pandemic, are also seeking cooperation possibility.
For some care products, cosmetics, even filter faucets, and some food, the sales of last year have increased by about 60% of the year before last.
Impacted by the pandemic, the stay-at-home economy has arisen. Statistics show that the e-commerce utilization rate in Taiwan is as high as 80.9%, ranking the fourth, which is the same as the United States. In more than 100 countries in the world, it shows that the consumption power of the Taiwanese for online shopping cannot be underestimated.
It is estimated that the growth of our overall e-commerce industry last year will be more than 15%, and the production value from B2C will exceed $1 trillion.
But as the pandemic slows, will the e-commerce industry face challenges?
As lockdown eases, there may be so-called retaliatory consumption appearing in Taiwan. The consumption power of the Taiwanese may return to physical retail.
Retaliation consumption may temporarily cool down the e-commerce market, but in the long run, people's consumption habits may have changed due to the pandemic, but the e-commerce industry is still expected to expand continuously.
Taichung City has begun to vaccinate those 75 and older with Moderna vaccine. Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital staff is helping to facilitate that process. And as the patients are all senior citizens, they especially made adjustments to the way they set up the chairs and how the queue flowed. Medical staff would move from patient to patient and in detail help each senior with their vaccination process. Take a look.
These senior citizens who are 75 or over are receiving the Moderna vaccine with the medical team led by Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital's Dr. Qiu Guoliang. As this group of people getting vaccinated are elderly, the team adjusts the queue a little to accommodate the senior citizens.
We adjusted the queue to where the lines are spaced 2 rows apart, and when we are done with the end of the row, we just continue to move in a snake shape, where the end is now the beginning.
The S-shaped queue helps move along the vaccination quickly from one to another, and this was especially useful for those seniors who are hard of hearing.
We can get right next to his ear and not have to yell very loud for him to hear. It helps with our patient consultation and interaction. I think it's best to adjust our procedure and routes according to the types of patients we are serving.
Using this method, the nurses move from patient to patient and often bending down to administer the shot. Even Chen, who has 24 years of experience as a nurse in the surgical room, said her back ached from bending over so much. However, she would do it again in a heartbeat to contribute her share.
I have experience in rapid screening at the emergency department, so I signed up immediately for this. If we adjust our mental state and ensure our own protection, then it's just like any other day at work.
Despite their fatigue, the medical staff do not show it to the senior citizens and continue to safeguard their health in this uncertain time.
The current predicament of domestic vaccines is that the second phase of blind testing cannot be verified to prove that the vaccine is effective, and emergency use authorization cannot be applied for in the United States and the EU. Taiwan Food and Drug Administration stated that antibody tests in subjects are not lower than those of the AZ vaccine, which is the key to assessing the effectiveness of the vaccine. However, experts say such test results are not enough to directly compare the two vaccines.
Data shows during the current period of testing, the positive conversion rate of the vaccine group was 99.8%, and the placebo control group positive rate is 0. Subjects in the vaccine group after receiving 2 shots of the vaccine almost all succeed in including an immune response.
Medigen's COVID vaccine blind second stage test had seroconversion rate, which reached 99.8 regardless of age group, which means that 99.8% of vaccinators have antibody reactions in their bodies.
To test the antibody conversion ratio for those getting this vaccine, there will still be no antibody response in the body before the vaccine. So they can be evaluated that after the vaccine is given. We need to do this to see if the body begins to make antibodies after the vaccine.
The so-called positive conversion rate refers to the original group of people who have no antibodies in their serum. After being vaccinated, this ratio tracks what percentage of people start to show measurable antibodies in their bodies. What it represents is a change from no to yes. Although there are antibodies, how effective the antibodies are is impossible to tell from the seroconversion rate.
The neutralizing antibody tests of about 600 to 700 should be considered good data. But there is no way to draw a conclusion now because it has to be compared with the AZ vaccine and the antibody tests of people in Taiwan.
The neutralizing antibody test mentioned by Li Bingying is yet another report provided by clinical trials showing how high the antibody produced by the subject is after being vaccinated. Medigen's vaccine was announced at 662, but experts believe that this is just a number. It's impossible to know how effective the antibody is.
In fact, our laboratory and the academia Sinica have also communicated with each other, but we found that in a small step, the amount of a culture medium added to allow the viruses and cells to grow will also affect the numerical value.
Different vaccines in different laboratories have different neutralizing antibody tests. Some use a real virus, some use a fake virus, some use its binding ability, and the values that appear will vary. For example, the values of Emerging Virus Research Center at Tangong University and Academia Sinica used to be 3 to 5 times worse, so Medigen's results cannot be directly compared with the antibody results of the AZ vaccine.
When they are doing research abroad, in fact, even Moderna saw different laboratories produce different results.
Medigan's report can only tell us that people who were vaccinated can indeed produce antibodies in their body. Even if the antibodies they see today are very high, do these antibodies really prevent him from getting sick? There is no result in a phase 2 clinical trial.
Qi Jiayu compared Medigen and AZ to two students. The two took exactly the same exam, and the exams at the same time were for COVID. Medigen had a test score of 60 points, and the AZ test score was 50 points. In comparison, Medigen scored better. However, at the Medigen second phase blind press conference, only Medigen scores with no data pertaining to Medigen's results associated with beta variant.
Recently, Johnson & Johnson's vaccine received emergency use authorization in the United States. When they were doing clinical trials, they found that the clinical protection in the United States could reach 70%. However, the same Johnson & Johnson vaccine in South Africa only received 50% protection. Then they analyzed it and found that the subjects in South Africa were infected with the South Africa beta variant virus. Therefore, it can be reflected that this vaccine may have poor protection against mutant viruses in the area. One needs to wait until these variant viruses appear one by one, and then take the serum of the original clinical trial subjects and react with these different variant viruses to know the geometric mean.
Taiwan's Food and Drug Administration announced that to apply for emergency authorization, domestic vaccines must be compared with other international vaccines. Since most people in Taiwan administer the AZ vaccine, the key to assessing the effectiveness of the domestic vaccine is to compare it with AZ. That is, the neutralizing antibody test in the subject must not be lower than that of the AZ vaccine. The Food and Drug Administration recruited 200 medical staff from Hualien Hospital at the end of March to receive 2 doses of AZ vaccine. After that, the 200 medical staff will be used to collect serum analysis. After the data is consolidated, they can be used for comparison with domestic vaccine. Becoming a benchmark for comparing antibody tests is called immune bridging, which is the way Medigen hopes to use in place of the third phase of clinical trials.
Even if we have similar antibodies, we don't know how long this antibody can last. Is it the same as AZ? Will we be protected? In fact, we don't know.
Medigen announced the success of the second phase of blind tests and said that although the U.S. FDA has suspended emergency authorization, Medigen will still replace time-consuming third phase clinical trials through immune bridging. Whether immune bridging can really protect people who are administered the vaccine, it needs more scientific data to confirm. A public hospital in Paraguay is still treating COVID patients as Digi volunteers regularly inquire about their need for epidemic prevention materials. Volunteers also look after those in senior homes and drug rehabilitation centers during the pandemic. Leave you with these images. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.